Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're diving straight into the fascinating science behind how your brain actually captures and stores memories. Everything from your very first day of school to the face of someone you love.
So how can your brain remember a specific moment years later? I mean, really think about it for a second. You can probably close your eyes right now and picture blowing out the candles at a childhood birthday party. You can see the cake, maybe even hear the singing, right? How is it physically possible that your brain still holds on to that exact moment decades later?
Well, it's super easy to imagine that your brain is just a biological computer hard drive. We all kind of like to think we have these tiny video files and secret folders neatly tucked away up there. But the myth of the computer hard drive versus the reality of a living network couldn't be more different. Your brain operates as a dynamic, constantly changing network. It's not a static storage box at all. It's literally communicating, rewiring, and strengthening its connections every single second of your life.
To truly grasp how complex this whole system is, just look at this number, 86 billion. Your brain contains approximately 86 billion specialized nerve cells called neurons. That's a massive scale. But here's the catch. A single neuron on its own doesn't actually do the heavy lifting. Its true superpower comes from its connections. Every single one of those 86 billion neurons can communicate with thousands of others, creating a gigantic network bursting with hundreds of trillions of connections. Every thought, sound, smell, and memory you've ever had, they're just tiny electrical signals zipping through that vast network.
Section 1. Birth of a memory. Shattering and organizing sensory inputs.
Let's say you experience something totally new, like seeing a beautiful butterfly for the very first time. That memory isn't just plopped into one location in your brain. Step 1, your eyes convert the light from that butterfly into electrical signals. 2, those signals race through your optic nerve. 3, your visual cortex processes the image, but it doesn't stop there. While that's happening, step 4 kicks in. Entirely different brain regions are busy processing the color, the sound of the wind, the smell of nearby flowers, and even the joy you feel in that moment. So a memory is actually shattered and spread across many different parts of your brain, and they all have to work together to recreate that exact experience.
Before all those scattered, fragmented pieces become a permanent memory, they have to pass through your hippocampus. You can think of the hippocampus as the brain's librarian. It organizes the information, deciding what's actually important to keep and what can just be forgotten. If an event is highly meaningful or surprising, this librarian steps in and strengthens the neural pathways connected to that specific experience.
Section 2. Neurons wiring together. The microscopic mechanism of memory storage. If we zoom way into the microscopic level, how do these cells actually communicate to store those memories? Well, it turns out neurons don't physically touch each other. There's a tiny gap between them called a synapse. When a neuron fires an electrical signal, it hits the end of the line and has to release chemical messengers, which we call neurotransmitters, across this tiny gap just to trigger the next cell in the network. That microscopic chemical spark across the synapse, that is the fundamental physical foundation of literally every memory you hold. And this brings us to long-term potentiation. It's basically the scientific way of explaining the golden rule of memory. Neurons that fire together, wire together. Seriously, the more you practice a physical skill, learn a math fact, or repeat a new colleague's name, the more those specific neurons fire across that synapse. Over time, that repeated pathway gets stronger, thicker, and faster. Eventually, recalling that information takes almost zero effort simply because those neurons are deeply wired together. Section 3. The night shift. Why sleep is essential for memory.
Now, surprisingly, most of your memory storage actually happens after the sun goes down. Deep sleep replays important daily experiences, transferring them into long-term storage and essentially saving the files. Your brain is quietly and repeatedly firing up those exact same neural pathways you used while you were awake. Each time they replay, the connections get stronger. This is exactly why poor sleep leads to poor memory. Without deep sleep, your brain literally hasn't finished saving the files.
Section 4. Why we forget. The emotional filter and survival advantages.
You might be wondering, why can we perfectly remember our high school graduation, but absolutely cannot remember what we ate for lunch 3 Tuesdays ago? Well, forgetting isn't a glitch. It has massive survival advantages. It prevents the brain from becoming overwhelmed, allows unused neural pathways to weaken, makes room for tomorrow's experiences, and lets important memories grow stronger. If you remembered everything, your brain would be completely overloaded. Forgetting keeps things efficient, so your truly important memories have the space and resources to thrive without competing with useless data.
But what about those truly intense, embarrassing, or dangerous moments?
That's where the amygdala comes in. It's a brain structure that releases stress hormones during emotional events. It works closely with the hippocampus, acting like a giant bright highlighter for your memories. It releases chemicals like adrenaline that basically scream to your brain, hey, this moment is incredibly important for our survival, do not forget it. And that's why those high emotion moments are etched so permanently into our minds.
Section 5. Rewiring who you are. The constant physical rebuilding of your brain.
Ultimately, all of this microscopic activity shapes your entire human identity. Every book you read, conversation you have, and skill you practice physically rebuilds and adapts your brain. You are actively forming new neural pathways and letting others disappear every single day. Your brain isn't just a static object. It's a continuously adapting organism that physically rewires itself based on the experiences you feed it. The person you become tomorrow literally depends on the connections you're building right now.
So the next time you recall a childhood vacation, remember this. Every memory changes your brain. Your memories aren't just tiny computer files stored in a static machine. No way. They are living, breathing patterns of electricity, continually reshaping who you are. Which leaves us with a pretty fascinating question to end on. If every single memory and experience physically changes the microscopic structure of your brain, are you really the exact same person now as you were at the beginning of this explainer?